Davis when I grew up, tackling Seminoles and Bulldogs, playing football in the mud. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. I feel really sorry for our sisters to the south, 'cause they come up here every other year and get punched in the mouth. Oh, and every home Saturday, it gives us the chills to watch those boys in orange run together down that hill. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Oh, somewhere up in heaven, Gaines Adams makes a sack, and that old Banks McFadden is the best damn running back. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Everybody, damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Oh yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin and Pete here. Happy Thursday to everybody. I want to thank everybody for just stopping in with me at this 4 o'clock slot on a Thursday afternoon. Got a lot to talk about. I mean, we got a lot of bad football games this weekend, but I'm not going to complain too much because you know what? Football season is almost over. Well, at least college football season is almost over, and that's depressing. And I mean, this season flew by so fast. I don't know if it did for you guys, but it sure as hell did for me. But anyway, there's still some betting lines I want to talk about this week. Of course, I want to talk about Syracuse and Notre Dame. Some breaking news that just came over Twitter. I don't know if I can't confirm or deny whether or not it's true that Jeff Brom is expected to take the head coaching job at Louisville. I did not expect to hear that this soon. It's a nasty day all over the East Coast. At least here in South Carolina, it's been nasty. It's been raining for 3 days straight. It's getting depressing. Anyway. Let's see who's in the chat here, and then we can talk about some sports. Good afternoon, Clemson Carson. How you doing, sir? Christian Ballard. He says, "What's up? What's up, Christian?" Pac Fan 12. Tiger Nate. Volunteer Roadshow. Catfish. What's up, man? Where you at, Catfish? Now. Last time I heard from you, I think you were, or last video, I think you were somewhere out west, if I remember correctly. 81 Clemson Tiger 16. Richard Neal. Herbert Bradford says, May there, Pigskin. May there, Herbert. SC Tiger Fan 803. Debo. Debo says it's crazy how Syracuse is our best win. That is kind of crazy, isn't it? I still consider Texas A&M to be a pretty good win, despite the fact that Texas A&M has, I think, 3 losses now. I still think they're a pretty good football team. You're at Lewis, headed to Rock Hill, South Carolina. I guess you're Lewis. It means Louisville or St. Louis. Okay, there you go, St. Louis. Man, you cover some ground, don't you? That's got to be one hell of a job seeing the country the way that you do. I mean, a lot of people can be very envious of that because of all the, you get to see the entire country. But, it seems more glamour than I think it really is. I mean, there's a lot of, I'm sure it's not easy. First of all, doing that job and being alone all that time and all that sort of thing. So you're doing a great job, Catfish. You're doing a great job. I mean, forget about trucking. You're doing a great job with your channel. It's one of my favorite channels on YouTube by a long shot. Clemson Carson says, Pete, just curious, but will I be a mod soon? Yeah. You know what? I don't know what happened with that. We tried to make you a mod, and you disappeared for a week or two. I don't know what that was about. You'll be a mod, sir. I'll make you one when the stream's over. I also made a new mod out of, who was it today? I made another new mod. Glow, I think it was. What's up, Jamie McCaslin? How you doing, sir? All right, so first of all, the breaking news that I was just talking about, and like I said, I can't confirm or deny this, is that the word through the grapevine is that Jeff Brom has accepted the job at Louisville and is expected to be announced the head coach of Louisville after, I guess, after rivalry week, after next week, whatever the first Monday of December, championship week. Now, since we all know everything on the internet's true, then it's probably true, right? I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, who knows if it's true or not? But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was true, because not only did he play there, he coached there before. He's got a history there. It's his alum. You know, he's an alum, the whole 9 yards. But I am a little bit surprised that it's coming out this early in the season. I thought it would be. We wouldn't hear anything about it till the end of the year, but who knows? He's doing a press conference in a few hours. Okay, that's good to know. Christian Ballard says, get ready for my prediction, Pete. What's your prediction? What's up, Delta Charlie? Welcome to the stream. I'm sure if you're here, you're amazing and fantastic. Otherwise, you would not be here. In Tiger Town for the ring ceremony. What can I expect and how long do they last? What ring ceremony? And then maybe I can help you. A Pac Fan 12, who's a Purdue fan, he does not want to believe that Jeff Brom is going to Louisville. He says he wouldn't believe it. And this guy also told us that Fleck was going to be our head coach, so he's potato. I don't know. Maybe you're right. I don't. You know, for all I know, it's fake. But I have seen it, and not just that guy. I've seen it several different reports that are saying this. Bama wins 58-0 on Saturday. Okay, let's get into this. That's not an unrealistic. That's not an unrealistic projection there, Christian, by the way. What's up, Jace the Tiger? So there are, believe it or not, despite the fact that, you know, the vast majority of the SEC is playing crap games this week that nobody's going to watch, there are some interesting games this week. And if you're somebody that does bet on football, which I don't, I just tell you to bet on it so that you can lose your money and then come on here and yell at me and tell me that you lost because of one of my picks. But actually, to be serious here, I am well over 50% for the year on my picks. And in fact, the past few weeks I've been nailing it. But I did have a couple of duds this year. I think at least 2 weeks I had, you know, bad records. The rest of the weeks I did pretty well. But anyway, there's some very good lines, and there's a few here that I consider to be big time locks. So let's go ahead and go through that real quick, and I'll give you my thoughts on that. This is actually an interesting game. So, despite like I was starting to say before I got off on one of my tangents, despite the fact that there's really not that many interesting games this week, there are still some teams in the top 10 that still have playoff hopes that could lose this weekend, especially in the Big 12. This first game I'm going to talk about right now, West Virginia and Oklahoma State. Now, Oklahoma State's not very good. At least their record isn't very good. But I think that their record is worse than how they actually are. And when I say that, I think, what are they, like 5-5, something like that. They're right around 500. They I don't know. They may be 6-4. I mean, if I'm a game off, I'm sorry for any Big 12 fan out there who's going to come on here and correct me and tell me I haven't done my homework. Listen, they're right around 500. But they have lost a lot of games, I mean, very close games. Of course, last week we saw they lost by 1 point in Bedlam against Oklahoma, and that was because really that they missed an extra point there towards the end of the game, and that game might have went to overtime, and who knows what would have happened in overtime. But anyway, Oklahoma State is not a great team, but they're not as bad as their record, is what I'm saying. West Virginia is favored by 5 points. I think this game's in Oklahoma State. I'm going to take West Virginia with the points. And the reason I would take West Virginia with the points is you can say, well, Oklahoma can score 1 million points, just like, Oklahoma State can score 1 million points, just like, the vast majority of the teams in the Big 12 can. Well, so can West Virginia, number one. And also, West Virginia has a legit defense. There's only a couple of teams in the Big 12 that can make that claim. So I fully expect West Virginia to handle business here and win by more than 5 points. But let's assume here for a second. Let's play fantasy because why not? Oklahoma State upsets West Virginia. Well, that effectively knocks West Virginia out of the playoff talk if they beat West Virginia. That's a big if, but if they do, that knocks them out. That also makes it a win-out scenario for Oklahoma, which it already sort of is. Well, what it does really is it makes a win-out scenario for Oklahoma for the Big 12 to even be considered to be in the playoff. Because if West Virginia catches another loss, that'd be 2 losses. Even if they go on to win the Big 12 somehow, they won't get in with 2 losses. So if you're a Big 12 fan, and especially if you're a West Virginia fan, you do not want to see West Virginia get upset by Oklahoma State. Next on the list. Now, I consider this to be a lock. This is the craziest betting line that I've seen this week. And I'm sitting here scratching my head. Is there something I don't know about this? Because a lot of times when you see these crazy lines, there's got to be a reason for it. And I just didn't, I didn't have time to dig deep enough into why the line is the way it is. But Boston College and Florida State. Boston College is only favored by 1.5 points in this game. Now, I can't wrap my head around that. Can anybody else figure? Is there something I'm missing here? Did Boston College, did their entire offensive and defensive line come down with the flu? What's going on? Because Florida State's, they're awful. They're one of the 5 worst teams in America. They're that bad. I don't care. You can tell me Florida State has, 12 different 5-star players on their roster. I don't care. I've seen them play for 10 weeks, and they are terrible. Terrible. And their coach is terrible. And who knows where they're going to head after this year. But they've got one hell of a hill to climb. To get back to being, relevant, forget about relevant, to get back to being respectable at this point. But here's what I always say. Since I don't bet on football, if I was to walk out of the house today and walk down the sidewalk and find a $100 bill on the ground, that'd be likely the only way I'd bet this week. I'd put $100 on Boston College to beat Florida State by more than 1.5 points. As a matter of fact, I think Boston College will beat Florida State by several touchdowns. Quarterback is out, says Jace the Tiger. I still don't care. I don't care. Quarterback, that's it? Yeah. I'm still taking Boston College. Who's this guy here? Bobby Durkins Jr. Bobby Durkins Jr. here. Welcome to the show. The QC. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the stream. I'm sure if you're here, you're amazing and fantastic. And he wants to know, assuming it's a he. Of course, you never assume these days, do you? Should I subscribe? Of course you should. What's stopping you? Here's the only thing you have to ask yourself. There's a few things you have to ask yourself when you want to know should you subscribe to Pigskin Pete's YouTube channel. Number one, and first and foremost, are you a football fan, in particular a college football fan? Number one. If the answer to that is no, then forget about it. Go watch, something else. The Joe Rogan podcast, which I love, by the way. Number two, if you are a college football fan, do you get butthurt when some random guy sitting in his football room with a hat and a pair of cheap sunglasses speaking into a microphone in front of a laptop and a webcam, do you get butthurt when that person, in particular me, says anything negative about your football team? If the answer to that is yes, then no, don't subscribe because it's going to happen probably before the end of the stream, depending on who your football team is. And number 3, and this might be the most important. Forget about the first one. Are you amazing and fantastic? If you are amazing and fantastic, then you should be subscribed already. I don't know what you're waiting on. So I hope that answers your question. What's up, Zach? Good afternoon to you, sir. Dennis Wilson, how are you? Okay. Anyway, I got off track there. Someone asked if they should subscribe, and my head almost exploded. Number 3 on the list. Okay, anyway, take Boston College with the points. I don't care if their quarterback's out. I don't care, whatever. I mean, you could put me at quarterback and beat Florida State. And it's that simple. They're not a throwing football team anyway. They're a running team. And their defense is legit, too. Miami and Virginia Tech. Now, this isn't an easy one to pick against the spread because you're talking about 2 bad teams. Right, Dennis Wilson? I'm not trolling, okay? I mean, I plenty of time for that. Right now, I'm not trolling Miami, not in the least bit. But guess what? Miami's not good. In case you haven't figured that out after 10 weeks of football, Miami's not good. But guess what? Virginia Tech's not either. Miami is favored by 5.5 points in this game. This game is in Virginia Tech. Now, before the season started, this looked like the game that's probably going to decide the Coastal Division and who goes to Charlotte to play most likely Clemson, which we already see that's who's going to go now. Well, both these teams are massively disappointing. In fact, that entire division of the ACC is massively disappointing, one of the worst divisions in football this year. Highly disappointing to Pigskin Pete because I spent my entire offseason beating my chest about how good the ACC was going to be this year, and here comes along Miami, Virginia Tech to ruin it for me. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. I'll never forgive you. Anyway, Miami's favored by 5.5. Miami has not won a single road game all year. So why would I think in my right mind that they're going to do it this week? I don't know. Who's the quarterback going to be? Is it going to be Rozier? Is it going to be N'Kosi Perry? Is it going to be some guy they get out of the stands and bring him down and throw a uniform and a helmet on him and throw him in there to throw passes? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm taking Virginia Tech as an underdog at home because Miami can't win on the road. What's up, Notre Dame Nation? Can you see my comments? Yes, everybody can see your comments. You haven't been banned or anything. So, next on the list. Now, this is not a good game. As a matter of fact, this is a terrible game. Nobody outside of Tuscaloosa will be watching this game. Actually, I'll take that back. I live in the city where the Citadel is located. I drive by the campus on a weekly basis, actually. Anyway, it's the Citadel at Alabama. Last I checked, Alabama was a 52-point favorite against the Citadel. Now look, Alabama could win this game by as much as they want to win it by. First of all, talking about the best team in the country, number one, Alabama, right? The Citadel is an FCS team who in years past has been a good FCS team. I mean, a playoff contending FCS team in the FCS playoffs. I mean, hell, they went into Williams-Brice Stadium a few years ago and beat the Gamecocks in Columbia, which was hilarious, by the way. But turns out Citadel is not only not good this year, they're pretty bad. They're even by FCS standards, they're just not good this year. So Alabama could win this game 80-0, 80-6, 90-7, whatever they want to do, they could do. But 52 points, I don't know about that. I'd take the Citadel with the points. That's a risky bet, though. Let's just imagine here for a second that in the fourth quarter, I mean, Nick Saban has resulted to putting in his fourth string, practice team players at that point. And Citadel scores a couple of touchdowns and make it 14 points. So what's 52 plus 14? Hold on. Watch how I do this. Watch how much of a genius I am. So you have 52. So 10 more would be 62, right? And then 4 after that would be 66. See how I did that? So in order for Alabama to cover the spread, they'd have to score 66 points, provided that somehow Citadel gets 14 points on the board. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if Nick Saban will run the score up like that either against a team like the Citadel and look bad. Of course they can if they want, but I don't know. I'd take the Citadel with the points just because the 52 is a lot of points to give anybody on any given day. I don't care who they're playing. Next on the list. Pitt and Wake Forest. This is another game I consider to be a lock. I don't get this line at all. Somebody help me understand this one as well. First of all, Pitt, most likely going to be the team that represents the ACC Coastal Division in the ACC Championship game. Pitt's pretty good. Last few weeks, Pitt's averaging almost 400 yards of running per game, which is pretty unbelievable. I don't care what conference you're in. That's pretty unbelievable. And especially if you're not Georgia Tech. You know, they actually do throw the ball sometimes. Wake Forest, another massively disappointing team in the ACC this year. Won 8 games last year. Beat Texas A&M in the bowl game. I think their coach, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong about this. I want to say their coach was the ACC Coach of the Year last year. Anyway, they had high hopes of winning 8 or 9 games again this year. Not happening. Their defense is awful. They fired their defensive coordinator like 3 weeks into the season. That shows you how bad they are. And they can't stop a nosebleed. They did beat NC State by some miracle last week. I mean, that I don't know what that says more about NC State or Wake Forest. I mean, either way, it doesn't matter. I'd take Pitt with the 6.5. I think the Pitt will put it all over Wake Forest. Wake Forest is no good. So if you're smart, take Pitt with the points. Next on the list, Texas Tech and Kansas State. Finally, a reason to talk about Kansas State. And I want to go ahead and point out yet again, how much of a genius I am. Another hot take, another sticking point in the offseason. Listen, so here's one thing people don't realize about having a YouTube channel is everything is all gravy during the football season. There's lots to talk about. There's games on every week. There's storylines. Well, as soon as that last the national championship game is over, I mean, you're talking about you got another 7 months before there's another football hiked. And if you have a YouTube channel, you've got a lot of stuff to try to conjure up just to keep things going on YouTube, to keep posting. Well, last year, I spilled a lot of my time talking about Bill Snyder. About how he should be fired, about how he should have been fired 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it is. And a lot of Kansas State people that would come across my videos and leave me comments. They were butthurt, saying you don't know what shape Kansas State was in before Bill Snyder got there. He's a great guy. He's a good coach. Blah, 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 blah. So all you got to do is go on Wikipedia and look at Bill Snyder's history at Kansas State, and it slaps you right in the face. The guy's been coaching there for like 28 or 29 years. I don't know the exact number. Something right around 30 years. He has won, that's right, one Big 12 title. One. Not 2, not 3, not 5. Now, anything outside of maybe Oregon State or Kansas, hell, Kansas even fired their coach for less. What football program is going to settle for one conference title in 30 years? None. Not only do they settle for it, but the guy's 79 years old. The guy at the end of last season said, I'm going to wait a couple of months to decide whether or not I'm going to retire or not. And then 2 weeks later, I read it in the newspaper, they gave this joker another 5-year extension and a raise. Well, turns out old Bill Snyder is not as great of a guy as we all thought he was. And what do you mean, Pigskin and Pete, when you say Bill Snyder's not a great guy? How dare you disparage his character like that? Well, the reason I say that is because Bill Snyder does not care about Kansas State football program. Bill Snyder cares about Bill Snyder. Bill Snyder cares about Bill Snyder's family. Good for him. His son is supposedly, what they say is that he wants his son to be named the next head coach of Kansas State before he steps down. He's sort of trying to strong arm. I'm going to stay here till I'm 90 if you don't name my son the next head coach. When is the administration and the fan base at Kansas State going to grow some balls and fire this geezer? I said this joking in one of my videos, but we might actually see, in the first time in college football history, a coach actually die on the sideline of old age. Does anybody want to see that? Oh, but he's been there for long enough. He deserves to go out on his own terms. No, he doesn't. They don't owe him anything. How many millions of dollars has this guy made to win nothing but one conference championship in 30 years? They don't owe him anything. As a matter of fact, he owes them money back because he didn't perform. He's been overpaid for 30 years. Texas Tech is a 6-point favorite at Kansas State. Kansas State's terrible. Terrible. I mean, their team looks like they're 79 years old. They look like their coach. You know how they say that the team takes on the personality of their head coach? Well, Kansas State has done that to a T. They look old as hell and slow. They will get beat by more than 6 points by Texas Tech. Texas Tech might score 100 points on them. Take Texas Tech. And last but not least, the game of the week. By the way, I will be broadcasting this game live, play-by-play, and reaction. 2:30 p.m. Saturday afternoon. Syracuse and Notre Dame. I almost said at Notre Dame because on the schedule, if you look at the schedule, it has it listed as a home game for Notre Dame. Anyway, that's besides the point. The game's in Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. The Notre Dame is wearing the ugliest uniforms in the history of college football uniforms. Have you seen these things? Listen, they deserve to lose based on their uniforms alone. The pants have pinstripes on them. The pants, not the top, not the jersey, not the helmet. The friggin' pants have pinstripes on them. I mean, if you look at these things, I saw one guy in a picture with the uniform on and almost threw up. I can't imagine seeing 11 of them on the field at one time. Anyways, Notre Dame is favored by 10 points in this game. That's another line I can't figure out now. Listen, Notre Dame is a better team than Syracuse. Notre Dame has more talent top to bottom than Syracuse does. Notre Dame has a much more successful, accomplished head coach than Syracuse does, right? So all signs point to Notre Dame beating the bejesus out of a team like Syracuse. Syracuse is a perennial bottom dweller, and what many would say is one of the bottom conferences in the country, which I disagree with, but this year they are. Not so fast, folks. Syracuse is actually pretty good. And to add to that, Syracuse has nothing to lose. The team with everything to lose this weekend in this game is Notre Dame. And when I say that, I mean, but basically they need to win out to get in the playoff, in my opinion, unless all kinds of chaos happens. I think most Notre Dame fans would agree with you that the only way they feel comfortable getting into the playoff is by winning out. And in order to win out, you got to get through Syracuse. Despite what happens in this game, I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be less than a touchdown, no matter who wins. So, 10 points is too much. I'd take Syracuse as far as the points go. The point spread goes. 10 points is too much. If the line was 6 points, I'd maybe say take Notre Dame. We're not betting at all, but 10 points too much. And if you're Notre Dame, you're on upset alert. See what you guys are talking about in the comment section here. Wait, Pete, I thought that was a night game. Which one? You talking about the Syracuse and Notre Dame game? I think it's at 2:30 p.m. is the last I saw. Clemson plays at night. I do know that. Against Duke. Richard Neal says, I thought it was at 8. Am I wrong about this? Is that game at night? I know the UCF game's at night. That's the primetime game. UCF and Cincinnati. Melon Matt says, New York Yankee pinstripes. Your school is in Indiana. What are you wearing pinstripes for? Exactly. I couldn't have said that any better myself. Syracuse is favored by 10.5. No. Notre Dame's favored by 10. So, yeah. Notre Dame Nation says Notre Dame wins 38-24. That would cover the spread if you're accurate on that. I don't see 38-24, but anyway, we'll see who's right about that. What's up, Nick Bro? Good afternoon to you, sir. Billy Dawson as well. Yeah. The uniform pants look like baseball pants. That's exactly what they look like. The only problem is they're not playing baseball, so that's why they look ridiculous. Yeah, 2:30. Thank you. You guys are about to freak me out because I've planned my entire day around streaming that game at 2:30 on Saturday. If it was not going to be at 2:30, I was about to really get pissed off. So thank you for confirming for me. Where am I getting my spread from? I get mine from a website called Scores and Odds, which is the one a lot of bookies use. But it's pretty much the only difference when you go to these Vegas odds websites. I mean, the Westgate Superbook is probably the most commonly used one. That's the one all the casinos use. They're all going to be around the same. So I mean, you may see a half of a point different here or there, but they're all pretty close to the same. So. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Dennis Wilson. That's something else I wanted to talk about, and you just reminded me of it, so I appreciate that. Yeah, so Kelly Bryant has announced that he's going to make his announcement. He's announced that he's making an announcement on where he's going to transfer on December the 4th. What is that? Is that a Monday? I don't know. December the 4th. That's my mom's birthday, by the way. Not that anybody cares. I want to say maybe it's on a Wednesday. Anyways. That's when he's announcing. But he's narrowed it down to 5 schools. Let me see if I can remember all of them. So North Carolina. I'm going to write these down. North Carolina was one. Auburn was one. Miami was one. Mississippi State was one. There's one more. Who am I forgetting? Oh, Arkansas. That was the other one. So I think that's the 5 that he said that he had narrowed it down to. So I'm going through these the other night trying to figure out. I'm trying to guess, which one I think he's going to pick because that's what everyone's trying to do, right? And I'm gonna. He took 2 visits to North Carolina. Not that that means anything, but listen, North Carolina is 2-23. I think, in their last 25 football games. 2-23. I mean, they are bad. They're in bad shape. So I can't imagine he would go there. So I'm marking North Carolina off the list just because of how bad they are. The only reason I'd say he consider going there is because it's the closest to home. He's a South Carolina kid, okay? But again, he's not going to get any exposure there. He's not going to win there. I mean, unless you consider winning 6 or 7 games an accomplishment, which I don't think Kelly Bryant's looking to win 6 or 7 games. I think he wants more than that for his last year of eligibility. So North Carolina's off the list. Miami, I consider them to be off the list. You want to know why? Well, he announced he was going to visit Miami this week, and the players came all over Twitter and in the media saying they were upset. They didn't want Kelly Bryant coming to their school. You know, they're backing up their quarterbacks, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, good old Mark Richt, the $4 million a year youth pastor, came out and said, we're not handing the starting position to anybody. Everybody has to earn it. Well, Kelly Bryant has already said very candidly, I'm not an 18-year-old kid coming out of high school who's trying to be courted by these teams where I'm going to step into a situation where I have to compete for anything. He's already said it. He's been very, very candid about it. I want to go somewhere. I've only got 1 year left of eligibility. I want to go somewhere where I'm the guy. Before I even step foot on campus, I'm the guy. So take Miami off the list because Mark Richt already said he's not guaranteed to be the guy. Even though he'd be a massive, massive upgrade over what they have now, Mark Richt doesn't care about that. Plus, I've heard it through the grapevine that Kelly Bryant might miss Bible study. So he's already going to be kicked off the team for that. So that narrows it down to Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Auburn. Mississippi State, I don't know. I frankly have no idea where he stands with that. I think he would fit good in that offensive system. I think you can compare him a lot to Nick Fitzgerald as far as their running ability. I think that Kelly Bryant's a better passer than Nick Fitzgerald is. I think he's a better quarterback than Nick Fitzgerald is. Let's put it that way. I think he would fit good in that system. So that's a question mark. I don't know. I don't know about Mississippi State. Arkansas. Arkansas is interesting because of the Chad Morris connection. Chad Morris recruited Kelly Bryant to Clemson. Everybody knows that. Chad Morris runs the type of offensive system, or he wants to run the type of offensive system that is tailor-made for a Kelly Bryant type of quarterback, a dual threat guy. However, similar to North Carolina, Arkansas is in a bad place right now. Arkansas needs another 2 or 3 recruiting cycles to become anywhere competitive in the SEC, especially in the SEC West, which many consider to be the best division in all of football. I'm not sure the amount of exposure he would get there because I just don't see them winning that many games. I mean, a good year for Arkansas next year would be making a bowl game, in my estimation. So I'm going to, despite the Chad Kelly effect, I'm going to mark Arkansas off the list. That one is still very, very possible because they have a personal relationship. But, as far as Kelly Bryant trying to become a NFL quarterback, I don't think the road to the NFL runs through Fayetteville. I just don't think so. So last on the list, and not least, is Auburn and the Gus Bus. This is where I think he's going. I think he's going to go to Auburn. It's my guess. We'll see if I'm right. Why do I think he's going to go to Auburn? One, he fits that system very well. He fits Gus Malzahn's type of system. He loves dual threat quarterbacks. He tried to go the pocket passing quarterback with Jarrett Stidham. Didn't work out very well for him. He does much better when he's got a heavy run type of quarterback who can pass the ball. Number 2, Auburn is the most, out of all these teams on this list, Auburn is the most like Clemson in everything. In particular, the personnel. They're a very similar type of team. They have elite talent all over the field. He'll have a good support in the run game. He'll have very good wide receivers to throw to. And, of course, and maybe most importantly, he'll have a big physical defense to keep them in games. And he'll be in a lot of primetime games. Also, something that a lot of people may not know, some of you may know this. It's getting really dark in here. Being so early. Kelly Bryant's, one of his heroes in football is none other than Cam Newton. In fact, after he decided to leave Clemson, He said one of the first calls he got was from Cam Newton, wishing him well and all that, you know. What does he have in common with Cam Newton if he goes to Auburn? Well, Cam Newton went to Auburn for 1 year as a senior, right? And what did he do? He led them all the way to a national championship. Now, is Kelly Bryant going to do what Cam Newton did? Is Kelly Bryant as good as Cam Newton? I don't think so. In my opinion, he's not. But in Kelly Bryant's mind, you know, a good guy to follow in their footsteps in his mind would be a Cam Newton. That's why I think he's going to Auburn. We'll see if I'm right. I actually think that'd be the best spot for him to go to if he for what he's looking for. He's announcing on Chad Morris's birthday. That's probably a coincidence. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't really care where he goes. I'm gonna wish him the best wherever he goes. I think it would be kind of cool to see him reconnect with Chad Morris, but I also want to see him succeed, and I just don't know if that's going to happen at Arkansas. So, if he goes to Auburn, just wait till next year to play him. Yeah, he would. That would be next year. He's only got 1 year of eligibility left. He wouldn't be playing till next year anyway, and then that would be his only year. Glow says Kelly should have stayed at Clemson. I mean, that's your opinion. I don't know if I agree with that or not. I think it was an amicable. I mean, I think it was good for both programs. I think it was probably good for Kelly to have the choice to go and move on and play somewhere else for his last year because he wasn't going to start at Clemson anymore. I mean, that wasn't going to happen. And I also think it might listen. You're not a better team when you lose your second best quarterback, and that's what Kelly Bryant was. He was the second best quarterback on the team. Trevor Lawrence was the best. Something happens to Trevor, then you do miss Kelly, you know, this year. But the other side of that is you don't want tension in the locker room. You don't want animosity between your quarterback room. So what you've seen actually is since Kelly Bryant left, Trevor Lawrence is playing much, much better. And I think there's a lot of pressure taking off of his shoulders, not having Kelly Bryant looming over him, so to speak. So it's a win-win for everybody. I wish Kelly the best. I think he'll do fine wherever he goes. Lee Smith, good afternoon to you, sirs. He says he was thinking Florida. That quarterback position is a dumpster fire. Yeah, you know what? I heard he was taking a visit there, and I think maybe he did visit there, but he did not name Florida, as far as I know, in his final list. So I guess things didn't go too well there. I don't know. SEC Dog agrees with me. He thinks that he goes to Auburn. Yeah, I think that, again, I think he fits there perfectly out of all the teams. He fits with Auburn the best. And he'll get the national exposure just because of the games Auburn plays every year. I mean, they're going to play Alabama. They're going to play LSU. Right? They're going to play Georgia. They're going to play a lot of primetime games. He wants exposure, and he wants to play for a good team. And he'll get all of that at Auburn. Now, will he win there? That's a whole other story. I don't know. Dennis Wilson, Pigskin Pete, what if Kelly Bryant knocked Clemson off in the playoffs next year? That's not happening, sir. First of all, which team out of all the ones I just named that he could possibly go to, which one of those is making the playoffs? I mean, the only one I could think of would be Auburn, right? Because Miami's not. And plus, I don't think he's going to Miami anyway. What's up, Glow? How you doing, sir? By the way, welcome to the chat and welcome to being a mod. You've earned it. Strange Days says Kelly Bryant's not knocking anybody out of anything. Well, he did knock Miami out of the playoff hunt last year, didn't he? That was the best game of his career, by the way. As a matter of fact, if you go, there's an interview on YouTube where he was interviewed by what's the chick's name on ESPN. Anyway, she was talking to him about all these stuff that I've been talking to you about where he's going to go, why did he leave Clemson, it's like a 15-minute interview. And she says, what do you want these other teams to know about Kelly Bryant as a football player. You know what he said? He said, I want them to turn on the tape when we played in the ACC championship game against Miami. That's the Kelly Bryant that I want everybody to know, because it was the best game he's ever played in his life. He looked like Aaron Rodgers against Miami. Oh, man. The rock rubber ramp runners going to be sick when Kelly Bryant is sitting in New York next to next year, and Trevor Longhair Lawrence is sitting at home. No. First of all, that's not going to happen. Second of all, if Kelly Bryant made it to New York, I would be happy for him. I don't have any problem with Kelly Bryant. Christian Ballard says Clemson pretty much has Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, well, he's a true freshman. He's not going anywhere. Bama still has Hurts. You won't have Hurts next year. I'm sorry to tell you that. You'll have Tunga Mahola, and I guess you'll have Mac Jones. I don't know anything about Mac Jones. I don't know what year he is. Hurts is going to transfer. I mean, I bet my right arm on it. Now, there's no reason for Hurts to stay there. He's only got 1 year. Wait, let's see. He's a junior. This is his third year. So, yeah, he'll have one more year of eligibility left after the season's over to play, and he's not going to do it sitting on the bench backing up Tua. So what you're going to see is at the end of the season, Jalen Hurts will announce that he's transferring. Believe me, he's not staying there. I'd be shocked if he did. Shocked. And most people expect him to transfer, and I don't blame him, by the way. Chase Bryce is not bad. I agree. He's very good. I mean, Clemson doesn't recruit bad quarterbacks. So, but he is good. You're right. Until Clemson shuts down your offense and the Tigers lay 50 on your team. I don't know who Charlie's talking to. He's talking trash to somebody. Christian Ballard says Hurts is not leaving. I'm telling you, sir. Listen, we can argue till the cows come home. I think he's leaving. You think he's staying. Well, we'll find out soon enough. I mean, he's all but said he's leaving. I mean, he hasn't actually said I'm leaving after this year, but he's pretty much all but said that. I mean, his family, believe me, his dad said if he's not the starter, he'll be the hottest free agent in college football history. I believe him. I take the man at his word. See you later, Delta Charlie. Thank you for stopping in, sir. What do I want to wager? I don't know. You let me know, sir. It's up to you. Whatever you feel like losing, whatever you're comfortable losing is what we'll wager. Y'all stop dissing Miami's Bible School of Participation. Oh God. What else did I want to talk about today? Whoever brought that Kelly Bryant up thing, thank you, by the way. I can't remember who it was now, but that's something I did want to talk about, and I completely forgot about it. So we covered the Brom thing. We covered some betting lines. We covered Kelly Bryant. I'll see you later, Catfish. Thanks for stopping in, sir. And be careful out there on the road. Oh, yeah, there's a football game tonight, an NFL game, by the way, Seattle and Green Bay. And I didn't look at the betting line for that. I meant to. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I will be watching the game on the Sports Fury like I normally do. Anybody who doesn't know who they are, go check them out. They do these primetime live streams for these NFL games, and they're awesome. But some of the best games in the past few years have been between Green Bay and Seattle. We've had a couple of playoff games. I think we had was it 1 or 2 NFC championship games between them in the past, say, 5 or 6 years. Those games are always close, no matter where the game is. I mean, they're always like 3-4 point games. There's been a couple of controversial games between the two of them. And for a Thursday night slate, I'd say it's going to be a pretty good one. Now, last week I thought was going to be a great game between the Steelers and the Panthers. Well, that turned out to be a blowout, much to my surprise, and I wasn't very happy about that. I was actually streaming that game, but I think the game tonight will be good. Bobby Durkins Jr. says he thinks will win. The game's in Seattle. Green Bay's not very good this year. Green Bay's defense is terrible. And let's be real. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is great, but the guy needs some help. Get this guy some help. Of course, he's done this to himself. He's just become the highest paid quarterback in the history of football. He's making like $35 million a year. I mean, some ungodly amount of money they're paying this guy. And then he's sitting around, complaining about not having any help. Well, when you're making $35 million a year, sir, they can't afford to pay anybody anything. I mean, you know what he needs to do? He needs to get on the cell phone with Tom Brady and say, hey, can you give me some advice on how to win? As far as the contracts are concerned, because Tom Brady is in the middle of the pack as far as how high he's paid, and that's by design. He takes massive pay cuts and restructures his contract to make sure they can pay other players because he's all about winning Super Bowls. He's not all about cashing in the fat paycheck. The money comes with winning. I mean, listen. I don't blame the guy. If you want to pay him $35 million, that's your fault. But if you want to win Super Bowls, you need to figure out a way to give this guy less money so he can pay other players. Otherwise, I don't want to hear any crying about it. It's not college football where you can just recruit players. You got to actually pay them. There's a salary cap, unfortunately for them. And you got to play Rammer Jammer for your opening theme. What's that? Not that Clemson song I'm always playing. I'm going to continue to play that Clemson song. Number one, because it's awesome. And number two, because it's not copyrighted and I don't get copyright strikes on my YouTube videos for it. Yeah. It's hard to find good songs that aren't copyrighted. Trust me. I've tried. If I could, I'd play Metallica or something like that. But everything is copyrighted for Metallica. Clemson Carson's a Patriot fan. He says you're not going to winning the Super Bowl. Probably not. And the only reason you're probably not is because, I got 4 words for you. Kansas City. That's the first word, 2 words for you. And the second 2 words are Los Angeles Rams. Even if you do make it to the Super Bowl, you're not beating the Rams. And if you get to the AFC Championship, you're not beating the Chiefs. So you're probably right. You're a Dallas Cowboy. How does that happen, sir? Aren't you a South Carolina kid, Bobby Durkins Jr.? Didn't your dad raise you right? Cowboys. You're smarter than that, son. You're much smarter than that. I know you are. Yeah, the Titans are pretty good, actually. All right, guys, I'm going to get off. It's been almost an hour. I want to thank everybody for stopping in. I really appreciate it. Every single one of you. Even Dennis Wilson. You guys are what make this show what it is. It's definitely not me. Trust me. If you're new here, please hit the like and subscribe button. I get on here and yell and scream about meaningless points all day long, every week, for a couple times a week. I also, every once in a while, upload videos where I yell and scream at people for no apparent reason. Those are always entertaining. I did one of those yesterday. And I do one live primetime college football game, play-by-play and reaction video every single Saturday during the college football season. There's only a few left, so if you haven't caught one of those, you might want to catch one this weekend. It's going to be a good one, too. Notre Dame and Syracuse from Yankee Stadium. You get to see the Syracuse Orangemen most likely upset, or at least a good chance of upsetting the Golden Domers. And you get to see the ugliest uniform in the history of college football, pinstriped pants that Notre Dame will be wearing. They have an iconic uniform and helmet, and they had to go screw it up. Anyway, please hit like and subscribe. Also, there's a link in the description to this video to the Patreon page. You click on that link. You can sign up for that. It takes you 5 minutes. You can read about the benefits of supporting the show. And I thank you in advance for anybody who's doing that. I also want to give a special thank you to both Billy Dawson and Tiger Nation for being the first two to sign up for that. They don't know how much that means to me, that they would sign up for Patreon and support me in that way. I appreciate it. Other than that, tell all your friends about the show. Tell your wife, tell your wife's girlfriends, tell your wife's girlfriend's boyfriends to tell their friends. Tell your grandparents, cousins, uncles, aunts. If you have a third half sister removed, tell her too. Tell your barber, tell your general practitioner, maybe your dentist. Shout it out from a mountaintop. Tattoo it on your forehead if you have to. But if you tattoo it on your forehead, make sure you tattoo it backwards so that when you look in the mirror, it reads correctly. I think I've covered everything. Yeah. Go UCF, right? Go UCF. Yeah, that's it. I guess I'll see you if I don't see you between now and Saturday. Everybody check in. I'll probably start the stream on Saturday somewhere around the game's at 2:30. I'll probably go live somewhere around 2:00. So everybody put it on your calendar. We'll have a good time, I promise. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for stopping in again. Pixie and Pete checking out.